Hey everybody out there, this is CJ Creech, one half of the Dave and Creech Show podcast. Just want to apologize for the audio this week. It's not as clear as it normally is due to our busy schedules, which you'll find out more about in the podcast itself. Next week we will be back to normal and have clear-cut audio for you. I hope you enjoyed this week's podcast, and here is episode 4 of the Dave and Creech Show.
This is the Dave and Creech Show, the only podcast where podcaster CJ Creech and actor Dave Sheridan come together to talk all things entertainment with your favorite entertainers. Want to ask our guests a question? Tweet them to @DaveSheridan or @CJCNOV88, and they may be asked to our guests live on the show. We do have to ask you stay seated during the podcast because this ride may get a little bit hilarious. Now here's your hosts, Dave and Creech.
Hey everyone. Welcome back. This is episode 4 of the Dave and Creech Show. Luckily, I am still alive here after shooting a James Bond little parody, driving an Aston Martin at 180 miles an hour, and Creech is still alive from driving through 22 inches of a nor'easter that he only thought was going to be 1 inch. I cannot believe you didn't know that nor'easter was going to be a big storm.
You can't hear the car in the background, can you?
Your car?
Yeah, my car.
Nope.
Oh, then that works perfectly.
And I'm driving too. I'm going to another meeting. I just got done. I actually had a meeting at my lunch today, so I was shooting green screen all day, and then I had a meeting already scheduled, and they said, well, we can make lunch around it. So it's the first time I had to, go jump from a James Bond tuxedo back into my regular clothes. I should have just wore the tuxedo to the meeting, but I'm not that. I don't roll that way. That's a little too pretentious for me.
That would be pretty hilarious. So almost like Step Brothers.
Yeah. Yeah. So what is going on? How are you?
I'm good. I think I'm really surprised we were able to link up this week to do this. It's been a hectic week for both of us. It's been pretty crazy.
Absolutely. So what happened? You went up to New York for a convention?
I did. Yeah, I did press at Heroes and Villains, and actually I didn't know until after last week's podcast that a nor'easter was going to hit the entire Northeast, and then
that would make it why it's called a nor'easter, because at least the nor'easter didn't hit Florida, right?
Yeah. Florida was one of the only, I guess you could say, northeastern states, actually just on this side of the continent that I could hit, because I know South Carolina apparently had snow flurries, but we got up there, and we apparently beat it up to New York, and then it rained down. Well, actually, technically it didn't rain down, but it snowed forever, and it wound up snowing over 22 inches in New York, where we were at. It wound up being the second, I guess you could say, like, most snowfall in history, biggest snowstorm, second most biggest. Of course, not the first one, since I was there, but we got snowed in. They shut New York City down, which was interesting, and it was crazy. They canceled the first day of the convention due to safety reasons, and that gave us an uphill battle on that Sunday. So I didn't get many of the interviews I'd liked. I didn't even get to visit Guy-Fi, too. Just that snow and that weather just completely destroyed everything.
So this con was only Saturday and Sunday, basically?
Yeah, it was only a Saturday and Sunday deal, but it wound up being a Sunday only due to all the weather. And then with how bad the weather was, half the cast had to unfortunately cancel because they couldn't make it due to planes being canceled or flights being canceled and stuff like that. So it was a bad situation overall, but I mean, Heroes and Villains Fan Fest did make up for it. I mean, the actors that were there definitely put on a great one-day con, and they also wound up mingling with all the fans in the guest hotels that were there at the center. So at least they made the most of it, but it was pretty brutal for sure.
So was the attendance sort of like sparse because of the, blizzard or whatever?
I think so. I mean, it definitely, I've like Walker Stalker cons were definitely way more packed, but I mean there was still a decent amount of people, but I still believe that they definitely had to have lost some money on that. But they went in after knowing it was going to hit bad, that was probably going to happen. They've already rescheduled like another weekend at some point. They haven't announced a date yet, but they're going to be doing some makeup days for it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that like they probably had a lot of non-refundable stuff involved, so that's why they had to have the show go on, because the hotel's going to be a lot. I guess with inclement weather and stuff, the hotel would probably, I don't know. I can't speak for it, but I would imagine if it was something like crazy, the second biggest snowfall in New York history, that the hotel would have to say, hey, we're going to cut you a break, in terms of the charge and stuff. But flights were already booked for a lot of the guests and stuff. Was that your first Heroes and Villains con that you went to?
Yeah. They'd only done two. They did one, I think, in November of last year in San Diego, and this was the second one. But yeah, I don't think anybody expected that storm to, one, come up, and two, to be as crazy as it was, because it definitely caught everybody off guard. I mean, I went out in the morning, and I couldn't even see cars at that point. They were just big piles of snow.
No, yeah, nobody saw it coming. There was nothing on the news about it. There was no warnings. They didn't talk about it for 4 days. What are you talking about, Creech? It's like, you even knew when you were going up there. It's like, I'm going to hit with a lot of snow. They were saying it was the blizzard of the century before it hit. Nobody knew about it. So to make it something like this, it's like they send everyone out there. They send like the lady that does pieces on the cat. They're like, get that winter coat on and get out there and get hit by a snowplow. We need footage. We need these people out there.
I went out there because they didn't keep people from going out on foot. So I slipped and slid around and had my share of snow troubles. But yeah, I mean, I thought it was pretty crazy. They actually shut the city down. I mean, to say if you go out, you're getting a hefty fine and possibly arrested it's pretty big for New York.
I think it was all a plot. Conspiracy theory tells me that this is just the snowstorm was completely fake, and they were just trying to check out how they can implement martial law. Maybe I'm with you on this. Yeah, that's a good idea, Creech. I don't think it was real. But I like how you go, nobody knew this was coming. You got to stop, listening to the Jimmy, Bob, and Skeeter news report down there in South Carolina. There is Weather Channel. You could try the Weather Channel when you're about to get in your car and drive 12 hours.
Well, originally they were forecasting it was like, they were like, oh, well, New York's not going to get much of it. It's going to be a 1 inch at most, and that
1 inch.
Yeah.
You are listening to the Special Olympic News Channel, dude. For 4 days, they were like, this is their biggest perfect storm of snow. So, hey, let's changing the subject. You posted that picture of some giant Godzilla, Snowzilla thing. Was that photoshopped, or did somebody really make that thing?
That was photoshopped. I wish that was real. Unfortunately, yeah, that would have been really cool.
You had me at the picture of Jesus on a toast and the frisbee painted silver, like the I always get fooled by those silver frisbees. They'll say, I got a UFO, man, on my iPhone.
Well, speaking of Jesus, I did meet him at the Heroes Fan Fest.
You met Jesus at the Hero Fan Fest?
Yes.
Wait, it was Heroes and Villains, right?
Yeah, Heroes and Villains Fan Fest, but it's just so much easier to say Heroes Fan Fest.
Was he booked as a hero or a villain?
I don't know. He was kind of in a gray area there. He was like the modern Jesus, I guess you could say, where he was just, you didn't really know. He was just shades of gray.
Hey, there's Superman over there. Back Superman. Let him go. Look, I'm walking on freaking water here. I'm Superman.
Yeah.
Christ superstar.
He's like, let's see Superman turn water into wine, and get you drunk.
There was a dude walking around as Jesus. And
there was.
Snow with sandals and a pajama bottom.
Yes, he had on the sandals and everything. His commitment was almost completely inspiring, if not a little bit maddening.
Why not?
He was definitely old school Jesus, not prepared for the snowpocalypse Jesus. Right,
exactly. He was not when hell freezes over Jesus. So he was the original Jesus, not the second coming Jesus.
Yeah, exactly.
The second coming Jesus, man, he's got Gore-Tex boots. He knows what's up. It's gonna be cold here, folks.
Yeah, he's fully prepared with his Chevy 4x4 pickup.
Right, exactly. So what was did you interview him? Did you interview Jesus?
I got a picture with him. I haven't posted it yet, but I got a picture with Jesus. I didn't quite interview him because I mean, when you interview your Lord and Savior, I don't know quite what to ask.
Yeah, it's true. He knows everything.
Exactly.
He already knows the questions you're going to ask.
Yeah,
so, well, who did you interview, man? Who showed up? Who did show up? One highlight.
One highlight.
Since you didn't go to Guy Fi, there's got to be another highlight if you get to Guy Fi.
And see that.
Just really quick, going back to Guy Fi, do you think anyone got snowed in by like a snowdrift by Guy Fi? Like was somebody stuck in there and it kind of got away? You think?
It's very possible. And it could also be possible that there was a group of people in there trying to keep warm, with doing all sorts of things.
So what was again I know I skipped over, but so what was the highlight for you at this Heroes in terms of guests and chatting with them and stuff?
In all honesty, just the highlight was getting to be there, seeing some of the regulars that I saw, and just getting to introduce myself and get like contact information for some of these actors, because the bad thing about it being closed on Saturday was Sunday, even though it wasn't slammed with half of the originally scheduled guests not being there, everybody that was there was busy from open to close. So we had no time to do interviews with everybody, but we did go around and introduce ourselves. And we had enough time to get contact information to, start emailing managers and setting stuff up for longer interviews too, which would be nice. But yeah, I mean, it's just getting to go around and see everybody. I hadn't been to like quite a comic convention where people dress up like superheroes. I'm used to seeing zombies and killers and everything. So it was a change of pace to see people in spandex, and see Superman and all that.
I would say that's a little that's commitment to wear the spandex and you have to travel through 22 inches of snow and spandex. It's like you could definitely see some I don't know what you want to call it, like ebb and flow down below with the spandex.
Yeah, there was like 50 million Deadpools there, and obviously, like, there's a Harley Quinn no matter where you go.
Oh my God! Now Deadpool. So, you seen the trailers for that?
I have, and I'm really
Well, first of all,
excited for that.
Who's playing Deadpool? Who is Deadpool? Is there an actor playing him, or is it a...
Yeah, it's Ryan Reynolds.
Okay, keep the mask on him. But so I don't know. What do you think of that one? I'm old. I'm probably too old to even I know. First of all, I'm not a fan of the comic. I don't hate the comic. I just don't really know it. But this one is like I'm looking at the tone of it and the character and the mask and et cetera, and I'm just like not. It's just I'm not seeing how it's going to be a hit, in my opinion. I don't know if I'd get the tone. You know what I mean?
He's definitely a different kind of character. I'm not too familiar with the comics, but what I have read about it, I know that the comic is known to break the fourth wall a lot, and obviously it's a lot more violent and vulgar than most Marvel comics. So he's kind of in his own sort of playing field as it pertains to superheroes. But
what I saw, just my personal sort of filmmaking hat, what I saw in the trailers was like a lot of physical comedy and sort of this cocky guy that also got caught up in some sort of, I wouldn't say slapsticky, but just physical comedy of like an errors of his own ways, but yet you can't see the guy's expression. So you can't see the oh no or his eyebrows lifting because he's wearing, basically sort of Spider-Man type of mask. And you don't see his eyes, you don't see, And so I probably would have, as much as I don't like CG, I think it might have been worth their penny to at least try to CG the mask face expressions a little bit so that it read through the mask, because I guess they can't change the mask. It's a comic book. You got to do it. You got to be true to the comic book. But it just seemed to me I would have liked to see a little bit more expression on his face. But didn't Ryan Reynolds play I don't know, Green Arrow or something like that?
Yeah, he played Green Lantern, and he's also
Green Arrow, Green Hornet, whatever.
He also played a really shitty version of Deadpool before as well.
He already played a crappy Deadpool?
Yeah, and one of the X-Men movies, I think it was one of the Wolverine ones, he played a different version that didn't go by the comics of Deadpool. So this is his second go-around to make up for how bad his appearance was in the last one.
Well, plus on, when he's got the Green Arrow thing you said, right? Or Green Lantern. Which one was it?
Green Lantern.
Yeah, Green Mile. Didn't he play Green Mile? He was the big black guy that had to get killed, couldn't read. I think, man, if it doesn't work for him here, it's like that's really got to hit your ego. That people toss a superhero thing into a bucket and it makes a tidal wave. It doesn't seem like superhero movies can fail. And if he bombs out on the second one, it's gonna be like, man, what the hell's wrong?
Yeah, well, I know they actually surprised groups of fans in New York and LA last week with advanced screenings. And so far the reviews are good, but then, that doesn't necessarily mean that, other people will like it, of course, because everybody has different tastes, and it also doesn't mean that it'll actually do well in the box office, because it is rated R, so it cuts down on
rated R. I got it. You see, the trailers don't sell it at all in a rated R way, but maybe there's one of those what they call red band trailers out there that I haven't seen or something. But again, you get this guy in a quintessential comic book outfit, you know what I mean? And his face is covered, and now you're also making it rated R. You're really stacking a deck for failure. I will see. And then you got winter. You got, like you're saying, another storm could hit. This could be. When does it come out?
It comes out February 12th.
Yeah, it sounds like a humdinger of a Valentine's Day movie. Let me go take you to a rated R movie that with the guy's face is covered the whole time. And isn't Ryan Reynolds only known for his abs? Isn't that his big thing, right?
I think so, yeah. Yeah, and just playing kind of the same character in every movie.
Yeah, good-looking guy. Play a good-looking guy. He's a good-looking guy. And he's good in the... I like him in those romantic comedy things, you know. The one where he was, like, fat, you know, and then he lost weight. That was great.
Oh, Just Friends?
Yeah, or Call Me Hal, or, yeah, Just Friends, sure. All of Me? I don't remember. Yeah. So, yeah, that's good. So you didn't really get a lot of interviews. You got 22 inches of snow, but you made some good contacts. You had fun. That's always the most important. Sounds like, I mean, how do you not have fun in 22 inches of snow? No matter what, it's got a feel to it.
Yeah, I mean, well, you know, coming from the South, I mean, I've probably cumulatively, before this weekend, I'd only seen maybe 1.5 inches of snow ever.
Wow.
So to go from that to, like, full-blown 22 inches was definitely an experience, and it was kind of even more funny knowing that, you know, in the social media age, every time something happens, you got to go comment on it on social media. So my friends in Charleston are on Facebook, you know, mentioning how excited they were. There's snow flurries. Oh, my gosh. And then, you know, meanwhile, I can't even barely open the door because the snow's keeping it shut. I'm just like, well, that's cute.
Yeah, you trump them by posting. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Come over to you should act like you were there too, like in South Carolina. Like, it's crazy, isn't it? Like 22 inches. And they're like, where the heck are you? Like, I'm only 5 blocks from you. It's insane. Look at me. You like post a selfie, and they're like, what the heck? We're like, how is there that much more snow like down the block? It's insane.
Yeah, like I found one of my friends' pictures they took. That was like, it was just a little bit of snow on the ground, and you could still see the grass and everything. And so I went ahead and like did some Photoshop work with it, and I put in like "Pray for Charleston," and I posted it online. Just 'cause it was pretty hilarious.
Nice. So what else is going on? What else? What are we? So are we? What interview are going to play today? Anything?
Yes, I do have an interview, and I do have. I haven't been able to keep up with entertainment really much this week, but the X-Files did premiere this week, and it premiered to amazing numbers, over 9 million viewers.
Yeah, that was, what night was that? Sunday night?
They had one Sunday and then Monday as well.
So what happened was I went over to Corey Feldman's house. Let me pick that name up. I was hanging out with Corey for like 3 hours, and you know he's a big X-Files fan. Like, it rolled around 10 o'clock Pacific time, and he's like, turned it on, and we couldn't find it on Fox. I think it was Friends or maybe a Simpsons or something. And there was football, and we were like, well, maybe the football thing, like, you know, misscheduled it or pushed it or something. But he looked it up on his phone, and it said 10 p.m. Pacific time on Fox. So I don't know. Maybe if anyone wants to help us out, like why it wasn't playing here in L.A. at 10 p.m. on Sunday. Maybe it was only 10 p.m. Eastern, and it couldn't have been 7 p.m., you know, West Coast time. So it was weird, you know. We couldn't watch it. So.
Yeah, and I'm actually just excited that it's out now, and the fact that I can talk about it, because I've seen the first 3 episodes. It's only a 6-episode run, but Fox had sent me the first 3 episodes because we're approved through press by Fox,
wow.
3 months ago. So like I've had them, and you know, they sent them just for informational purposes. At this point, they were like, don't review anything on this. So I've had them, and I couldn't really talk about them until now. So I'm just excited that I can actually speak about it now.
Well, let me ask you a question. Since you've seen 3, are you looking forward to the other 3?
I am. I actually think they did an amazing job, especially considering that it's been over 10 years since the last one. Yep. And it actually, I mean, I think for something like the X-Files, it works a lot better when it's such a short run as opposed to when they were doing like 12 to 20 episodes, because everything's a lot more jam-packed in there, and it seems a lot tighter and not as much. It doesn't kind of like mess around with stuff that doesn't really matter in the overall arc.
Right, and I would say they look good. What I've seen, like the two actors, don't look. And we've seen David Duchovny for many years on Californication, but I really think like they didn't look like they aged at all, in my opinion.
No, they didn't. That's another amazing thing. Plus, I was just glad that they kept the intro the same. I don't know why, but when they actually used the original intro from the show, so that was I felt a nice throwback, and it made it feel like it was more in tune, a straight continuation from where they had left off.
Right. That's kind of cool. Yeah, I'll have to check it out. I didn't get to watch it on Sunday because freaking Feldman couldn't figure it out. I don't know. We were on his 19-inch TV in his living room, and just didn't happen. Now he has a nice big TV. I don't know. It's one. What size? 80-inch. It's Corey Feldman. Come on.
Yeah. I was about to say 19-inch. Oh.
I got a picture of his total gym. He's got a nice total gym out by the pool. So, I'm wondering, I should ask him if Chuck Norris gave him that as a gift, And it's right out by the pool. It almost looks like, is this where the infomercial was shot? Is this where? It's perfectly placed in a place that looked like it was from the commercial, outdoors, by a pool, total gym. That's all you need. All you need is total gym. Do they still make those? I wonder.
I don't know. I haven't seen the infomercial in forever. I guess because they decided you can't really top an infomercial with Chuck Norris in it. I mean, what's the next logical step from that? So I don't know. I haven't
what
seen
do you
it.
Mean? I think Chuck pretty much owns Total Gym, so you're saying that, let's replace Chuck Norris? Like, what would be the next logical step if you replaced Chuck Norris as the new Total Gym spokesman?
Yeah, like if they were to actually, if it's still out to make new commercials, I would just assume they would probably, even long after, God forbid he passes, they'll probably still just use his commercial. I mean, it's really hard to top Chuck Norris.
Yeah, it can't really be a real fitness person per se, because it's just like, it's the freaking Total Gym, so it's really going to, smell fishy if the Jillian or whatever from Biggest Loser is, on Total Gym going, this is the one. This is it, these two cables and an angle. So it's got to be somebody that fits that same sort of, ham bone of Chuck Norris, you know what I mean? The guy was Texas Ranger, right? You know what I'm saying? So
yeah.
He's got the beard. He's got a G.I. Joe beard. It's from the old 70s action figure. It's felt. It's not a real beard. It's just kind of the perfect length, like artificial grass or whatever, like a chia pet, but dyed.
Yeah, and he's another one that doesn't really age, and he might be a vampire.
Well, he dyes the beard, and he's got that wig. I mean, so, and he might get a little nip tucked on, a little work, some injections, whatever,
The other thing and entertainment that I saw was, it's not like one of those shocker things. 2 weeks after David Bowie's passed, and they announced that they're actually remaking Labyrinth now.
Oh, jeez.
I know, right?
So maybe they were just waiting to announce it, look, he's going to die. Why don't we just give it a little bit of time before we announce it? Who's directing that? I mean, is there a writer-director or just a director? It's probably a pretty notable director, I would imagine, right?
They haven't announced yet what directors, actors, or anything like that. But they have announced that they are going to remake it, which, once again, I feel is completely unnecessary. You can't really touch the original. Obviously, David Bowie was great, and it was Jim Henson's last directorial capacity movie.
Yeah, but it had a lot of the Muppet Shop stuff in there, right? So Muppet Creature Shop thing or whatever it was. So, yeah, now it's gonna like it's a completely different thing. Yeah, yeah. But come on, man. There's a lot of stories out there. People can come up with creative stories, and it's sort of like kind of almost like it's depressing because there's a lot of, myself included, I like to do a lot of original screenplays and original stories, and when they keep, we're going to make the Gumby film, we got a Baywatch, I think Zac Efron's shooting Baywatch right now or something, it's like, really? You gotta make a movie at Baywatch? You gotta redo, Labyrinth? Like, all the superhero rehashes, okay, here's the 15th version of Batman, and it amazes you when something like Inception comes out or Avatar or something that's, all of a sudden a new thing, you know what I mean? So it just tells you how much hard work it takes to even get that through. They already. It does.
Yeah, it does. And then as soon as it hits it big, then those original movies become part of the machine as well. So I know they're working on 2 or 3 more Avatars at once right now.
Right, exactly. So they'll probably remake Avatar in another 30 years. With actual
30, probably like 10. I mean, look at Spider-Man. Spider-Man, I think it was about 10 years between original and remake.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe it wasn't even that long. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true. They should start doing a remake of a movie before they even finish the other movie. Like, we thought it'd be like cheaper to use the same set, so we're already remaking it right behind you. We're like a week behind. That's what it's gonna get to. What the heck? Like, you're remaking my movie? Yep. Yeah, it'll work out better that way because this way when we put out the remake, we don't have to build new sets or cast new people or anything. We're just remaking it, shot for shot, actually.
Yeah, that would be. I wouldn't be surprised if that happens because I mean the remake window is getting smaller and smaller, and I mean you look at some films like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and I mean from original came out the late 70s and to now it's been remade 5 or 6 different times.
Yeah, I think they were like about to be shooting a new Halloween. They were shooting a new Halloween, and then that got shut down, and the Weinsteins lost the rights, and I think Relativity is going to buy the rights. So they will be gearing up another Halloween very quickly. But it was the rights issue. So, but, it just seems like there was a Halloween, 2 years ago, I think, so.
Yeah, they did. And, it's just that whole thing has been pretty crazy too with the whole Halloween, and now they're apparently rebooting Nightmare on Elm Street again as well. And that just the remake came out in like 2010, and now it's 2016, and they're remaking it again. And it sounds like they're doing the same with Friday the 13th as well.
Yeah, and that one was what 2009 last like straight up Friday the 13th, like the one.
Yeah.
That was like the Jason Voorhees or Mrs. Voorhees remake, like the first one kind of thing. So
yeah, that one went for the home run. It actually was. They fit a remake of the first 3 films in one film.
Oh, I like that. I'll have to go check that out. So they basically crammed a lot in, kind of cut out a lot of fat, and just made the story go, first act, second act, third act of the 3 films. That's pretty smart. Now you told me that, I'm actually going to watch it. I'm going to watch that now.
Okay, yeah. I mean, it's not the worst. It definitely moves faster than your normal Friday the 13th. It seems to be a good fit for the MTV generation.
Right. Do you watch Screen TV show on MTV at all? You ever see that?
I haven't. I have it on my, I believe it's either Netflix or Hulu queue, but I haven't watched it yet. I'm going to. I hate when, I'm one of those people that hates when things get changed, and obviously they didn't, what I'm assuming, they didn't want to pay the rights for the actual Scream mask. So they changed the mask up enough to keep it different. But it in fact looks nothing like the original, and I'm trying to get over the fact that it doesn't look like the original right now before I watch it.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure. I know the producers, and I know the Miramax is involved, not Miramax, it's the Weinstein Company. And I thought they did own the rights because they did Scream 4, or was it Scream 5? I can't remember, but that was just a little while ago, maybe like 3 or 4 years ago. And that was after they left Miramax. So I don't think Disney owns the rights to the Scream mask. I think that is with the Weinsteins. But I think they wanted to separate the TV show and, any potential, for the film series of wherever the film series might go, like a reboot or something. I think they wanted to stay away from, it being, they wanted a new type of killer. I think that was more, I don't know if it was a right thing versus more just a reimagination of, trying to, wouldn't it be better to sell 2 versions of a mask than keep selling the same mask at every Halloween store, Halloween Spirit?
Oh, yeah, definitely. That would make more money, for sure. But I don't know. I've always been like that. It didn't bother me when they changed the way Freddy looked for the remake, but but with Jason, for instance, you can't, at this point, it's so ingrained, that hockey mask is basically what defines Jason as a killer. That's his identifying aspect. But
the hockey mask changes every film had a different hockey mask, like it morphed a little bit each time.
Yeah, they tweaked it a little bit, yeah. But then when you go to like Jason X, where Jason's in space, and then he at some point becomes super robot Jason, and they changed everything about it. It annoyed me to no end.
Yeah, he became like the Silver Stormtrooper,
Yeah.
He was like a Cylon or something. So that Silver Stormtrooper looked like a Cylon to me. Cylon from the original Battlestar Galactica. They gave it capes. Cylons had capes. It was just a little, I don't know what that was about.
That is very true. Now, you've been over there, so you're still. I thought the shooting was only going to be Tuesday and Wednesday of last week. Is it?
That was the practical stuff, like at a hotel, around the streets. I got to drive an Aston Martin and a chase scene and stuff like that, which was fun. But today was like in studio green screen stuff, So it was an easy day because originally they were like, hey, come at 10. Then they said come at 11. Well, I got there at 11, and I don't think we shot until 2. It was like they set up lights. One guy had to go get stuff or something like that. It was like, because it was a smaller shoot on a green screen. So, I try to save money on stuff like that. So all of a sudden it seems like it's something more simple, but when there's only 2 guys doing almost everything at that point, setting all the lights, setting the green screen, one guy's going to run camera, another guy's going to run sound, the producers are there at a laptop. So, but we got done. And that's what I'm saying. I had to go to a pitch meeting because it kind of ran, like when they said go to 11, like it's not going to be a full day. Come to 11. I got to go at 4. No, we'll get you out. And then it's like, you know what? Take your lunch. Now, like when it got to like 3 o'clock and we barely scratched the surface of what we needed because we started so late, that's when it was like, oh, come back after the meeting. I'm like, God damn it. Dang it, I'm sorry. But it's like I got to go drive through LA after when you get into shooting mode, you're in shooting mode. When you're in meeting mode, you're in meeting mode. It's very rare that you have to do both in one day,
Yeah. All right,
so they're 2 different functions, 2 different. You got to be on both, but one is you're on acting as a character or you're acting, and the other one is you got to be on with energy and personality, or a good smile and be articulate. And don't talk too much. But don't talk too little. Always listen. Agree with them. Smile. Shake his hand. Don't get off on the wrong floor. Make sure you get your parking validated. All right. You did it, pal. You took a meeting.
You get a gold star.
Yes, exactly. I met actually over at this guy. His name was Steve Waterman, and he bought Film Roman. Do you know who Film Roman is?
I don't think so.
They basically animate The Simpsons for like the last, I don't know, what, 50 years? So they do Simpsons, they do Spider-Man, and I think he said somebody else, and they did a couple other cartoons. It's a cartoon house, but it's an animation house. They're invoicing, not creating IP. You know what I mean? They've been basically hired gun animators for The Simpsons forever, and a lot of those jobs, even though it's Film Roman here in L.A., the animators are all over in South Korea or China somewhere, you know, so it's all, the real physical work's been shipped overseas. So it's really just an invoicing billing company, and the profit margin is really small, and it's also just exactly built in. You know what your fees are going to be for the year. So they want to get into creating cartoons and creating other things, whether that's web series or live action stuff. They are partnered up with Starz. I think Starz co-owns them now. So I was really meeting at Starz, you know, headquarters or whatever, and Film Roman was on the floor. And it was a good meeting, you know. But I brought a lot of cartoon ideas in. He liked one, but the other ones, you know, one was too close to something else that's on TV. Another one was too small. He's like, you might as well just, like, it looks good. You might, because I have little animations and stuff. And he's like, you might as well just animate that and put it on the web. And I'm like, I don't want to do that kind of work. It's hard work trying to make your stuff a hit on the web, you know.
Yeah.
I just want to collect a paycheck, get something on TV, make TV money. So, but he came down to, like, the biggest thing he liked was Walking Deceased, believe it or not. He really liked the model because he was like, oh man, I saw that. It looked pretty high quality, and I shot that for $125,000, and you know, it made some decent money around the world and VOD and Redbox and all that stuff. So he wants to be in that model, and it's like when you make a movie for $125,000. The last thing you ever want to do is make another movie for $125,000 because it's really hard. You don't pay a lot of friends, and it's a lot of favors, and you're trying to get locations free. It's not really a model that you aspire to keep repeating. It's almost like, hey, you live, you know, in a studio apartment with 3 roommates, and you don't pay a lot of rent. You ought to just keep doing that. No, people want, you want to move up. You don't want to have a guy elbow in your face, right?
Exactly.
So it's like, man, you seem to be saving money while sleeping in your car. Why don't you keep sleeping in your car? People that sleep in their car want to get an apartment. People that want to get an apartment want to get a bigger apartment or a condo or move to a house. So when I tried to make something that looks good for $125,000, you know, I was trying to show that we can make movies. You know, and I knew I could. You know, it's a little bit of a business proof. Like, hey, I can make movies at a cost, but I'd like to bump up to $500,000 or $700,000 or something. See, budgets are a strange thing with films because there's price points, and you've got SAG, you've got SAG rates. You know, there's ultra low budget, modified low budget. There's a new media rate. Then they also have a diversity rate. So if you have a certain amount of people that are African American, Asian, heavy, you know, if you have a heavy actor over 300 pounds, he's considered a minority. If you have an actor 4'7" or 4'9" and under, they're considered a minority. If there's someone 6'5" or taller, they're considered a minority. Women, diversity, you know, so. Like Rob Zombie did that in his movie. He got a diversity contract because people are clowns. You know, they're wearing clown masks, right? So yeah. He's got a lot of minorities playing the clowns or playing the main actors to stay so that they could qualify for a diversity refund break in the SAG pension and health. Now, you might think, oh, this is good for diversity and good for minority, but it basically enables production companies to pay all the actors less. Because it's not like, hey, let's get more African Americans and more Asians in movies. it's sort of like they're giving them a card to go, if you put more Asians and African Americans and Hispanics in movies, we'll let you pay everybody less. It's like that doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? It's like so instead you're just paying everybody less. It's like therefore all the actors, including the Asians and the African Americans and the Hispanics, now we're all getting, you know, we're as a collective group we're getting screwed. You know, it might be making that guy getting him a more job, but he's not getting a good paying job. So it's enabled everyone to kind of hide behind that. New media is another one that they constantly scam on. Because trust me, I'm a producer, and I have conversations with lawyers and other filmmakers, and I get offers, and it's like, well, it's new media. New media is like you shoot a movie, and you can pay literally, I don't know, $7 an hour for an actor. You know, they probably make $90 a day, about $100 a day for a 12-hour day. And they get away with that by calling it new media, where it's only going to air, it's only going to be on the web and streaming. And so you look at like what Netflix is doing or Amazon, and they're doing these originals, Amazon original or Netflix original, but they're also falling under new media, so they can really, you know, of course, like Kevin Spacey, you know, on what's that show he's got?
House of Cards, I think.
Yeah. Well, he's like the producer and owner of it, and they gave him $100 million. Not him personally, but it was $100 million for 10 episodes. So you're at what is that? No, did I say $100 million? Yeah, $100 million, 10 episodes. So it's like $10 million an episode. That's pretty dang good for a TV show. But it also qualifies as new media because it's streaming. It's streaming, and you know, they don't give you residuals for streaming. They don't give you residuals. There are no residuals to Screen Actors for streaming on Netflix or anything like that. And there's also, it's not Kevin, but it's like the guy playing the security guard or the limo driver or, you know, extras pushing the thing by. They're getting totally robbed because it's a freaking $10 million picture, and they should be getting a standard SAG day rate, which would be somewhere in the realm of, you know, $585 to $675 or something like that for the day at your base level. And you know, extras can make something like $200, $250 a day. But when they do streaming, all of a sudden, even the guy that comes in with one line, as the guy delivering the newspaper in the office, he's going to get paid $100, and then background extras are going to get $50 for the day. You know, so they're hiding behind. It's actually not a good thing, you know. So they made all these breaks and concession, like the new media thing was actually made for the opposite reason. It was made for when people were making those Funny or Die shorts or stuff on YouTube. It was made so that actors in that would get paid for their work and earn, you know, pension and health, because the only thing that makes a difference between your pay with SAG or your pay with a non-SAG thing is that the producers have to pay 7% or 12% more of your rate. You know, like, so $100 is easy to break down. You make $100 for the day, well, $12, they have to give another $12 to SAG, just like they give money to Social Security, you know what I mean, or the unemployment. You know, like when you work, the employer has to also pay the state for unemployment. You know, they have to pay into a pot so that when you're not working, and a lot of people are not working, they can collect unemployment. All that unemployment is paid out of your paycheck. I think that's FICA. That might be the FICA thing. I don't know. And then there's, you know, Social Security and stuff. So, but SAG takes out money from your check for your pension and health. So it's in their, you know, originally started as their own benefit to make more money into the pot of the Screen Actors Health Plan, you know, the health plan for retired actors and stuff like that, which is a good thing. But at the same time, it was really meant to sort of mine extra money from, you know, legitimate web shorts and web series. A lot of people do web series and stuff like that, but it wasn't meant for conglomerations like NBC Universal or a giant corporation like Netflix to literally hide underneath sort of a pension and health and a actors' rate sort of what do you want? I don't know what they call it. What do they? What's when people go overseas and they have a shelter, and there's like a bank shelter, and they're like, oh, I'm in an overseas bank shelter, to not have to pay taxes in America. That's kind of what these big corporations are doing with SAG New Media rates, because the actual shows themselves have major budgets. So,
well, it's definitely an eye-opening look at the ever-growing, definitely, industry of that, because, Netflix is making massive numbers, and now Hulu is pushed to start doing original series, and and even, like, Crackle is doing original series now, too. So it's definitely...
They've always done original series. Pretty much all of them have always had. Netflix is actually the last one, because Hulu has had original series from... that what was that one with Tyler Levine? He's got the actually dead people thing. It's kind of a slacker Sixth Sense. Like, what if the kid from Sixth Sense grew up as a complete slacker and he still sees dead people? I forget what it's called. It's not Better Off Dead. What do you know what that one's called?
I don't. I know what you're talking about. I've seen the trailers and commercials, but I never actually watched the show itself.
Yeah, because it's only on Hulu. I think it might be only on Hulu Plus at first, and then you can see it on Hulu once it runs through a season. And then Crackle has had original series they were actually, I think, the first one to really do original content, but it was kind of like, who the heck watches Crackle? Crackle's a terrible name. It just reminds me of that candy bar, first off, and then there's also that Cracked magazine. So I just don't see how Crackle, to me, says streaming or, internet. Hulu doesn't really say that either, but at least Netflix, you got net in there. It's the internet, and there's Flix. What was funny about Netflix was it really wasn't a streaming device. Netflix, remember, was just a DVD mailing service. Remember that?
I do, yeah.
The Netflix name really came from, they had a website, and you could have your order queue of your DVDs. So the menu was on the internet, and you would select, that's where you had your sort of queue going on of your what you're ordering. But nowadays, it's sort of like there's definitely more subscribers watching streaming than doing the old-fashioned get a DVD, put a DVD back in the mail thing. But my parents do that, and then I know that there are also people that are doing both, I guess, for like an extra $2. Maybe it's $10.99 and you get both services, or it's $8.99 and you get just one, and you can choose which one you want. So.
Yeah. It's still an option. I don't know anybody who still does it. I have only the streaming.
Right. I'm curious because I've never looked at my parents. They're always getting, it's like, if it's not God's Not Dead, then it's, there's another Kirk Cameron thing that showed up, and then it's Sean Astin faith-based thing or something. You know what I mean? I think they just have a rotating faith-based Netflix supply. So I have no interest in watching those movies, not because of the faith-based aspect, but they're just so ham-fisted and they sledgehammery. I'm staying out here with a guy that is Hayden Christensen's trainer, and he's Zac Efron's trainer. He jacked him up for that stupid grandpa movie or whatever it's called. And he's The Rock's trainer, but you name it, this guy does it. You know what I mean? He put 40 pounds on Josh Brolin. He put 40 pounds on Josh Brolin in like 3 weeks for Old Boy, and then he took 28 pounds off of Josh in 3 days when he came to set on Monday. He left Friday 40 pounds heavier, or he left Friday at one weight, came back Monday 28 pounds lighter. So it's pretty crazy.
That is very crazy.
He does it all with science. working out and diet, well, diet is the science part of it, but the working out part is, you want to build muscle, you got to work out no matter what you do. Even if you're shooting horse steroids, you still got to, like, make a curl or two. You have to actually tear the muscle to build a muscle no matter what. But he does these, like, blood workups. They run about $1,000, but you can get a half a blood workup for $500. So for $500, you can just eat your foods. But if you want to do a full, then it's also going to tell you your serotonin low, your serotonin, that, all your hormone levels and stuff. It'll tell you what you have, what you don't have, and they can give you shots to kind of get you up. And it's, if somebody's out there dealing with depression, or you're hooked on drugs, or you're trying to quit smoking or whatever, if you're at some major place where you're hitting a kind of desperation wall, even weight loss, stuff like that, if you've got $1,000, it might be a good investment because your body doesn't change. So the first 500 basically does all your food sensitivities. So it'll tell you that wheat will, bloat you up, and any kind of grains will basically, like, you're sensitive to grains, or you're sensitive to avocados, or avocados will make you ripped, So, this guy honking at me. I'm in my car right now.
Same here.
Yeah, but I parked at, like, a parking meter. I think some guy, I probably should just turn my car off. Hold on. That way I can turn my lights off. They probably thought I was pulling out for like 40 minutes. So that was great. The guys on the podcast talking about gluten sensitivities. Yeah, but it really works. That's what he did with Josh Brolin. So he knew all his sensitivities, peppers, mushrooms, whatever it is. They kind of do across the board. And he was able to put Josh on. He fed him for 3 weeks all of his major sensitivity foods. But then on the last week of him being fat, he took him off that. So he still kept some food, but then he put him on, like, diuretics and stuff, on the weekend, and just pulled him completely off of the food that he's sensitive on. But he put him on the food that actually will burn fat. Because that's the thing about the sensitivity thing. You will discover foods that will make you a fat-burning machine. You know what I mean? And then you'll find the foods or the spices or whatever it is. So it's kind of interesting.
Definitely. I'm still trying to.
Go and do it. I might go and do that because it's not so much of me going like, as an actor, it would be good to know, hey, how do I put on weight, take off weight, how to control my body. As an actor, you want to control your body. But there is a real health, initiative to understanding all that. Like I said, they didn't just make this blood test up for people that want to be actors and get jacked in 4 days on set. It's mainly for people that are, have major health issues and stuff like that, and this helps them better map out how they can treat their body. But, when you basically take all your inflammation down and you're eating the right foods that will feed your brain the right way, and then if you're short on all these hormones, if they kind of level you off, your body will actually, since you're eating right, will start to manufacture the hormones properly. So it really basically will eliminate your depressions or whatever that might be, your addictions too, things that you're addicted to if you're fighting that off. I've had people tell me they did this and, they were hooked on drugs and they had no cravings for any drugs after they got right with all the blood stuff.
Well, that's a good, definite bonus to everything.
This whole show's been nothing but it's kind of been a little serious, man. We got the snow stuff out of the way, but then I've been talking about SAG rates and union pays, and then now I'm into blood testing. But
yeah,
Hey, Creech, when we started this show, what are we on? Is this episode 3 or 4?
4.
That's a New Hope, buddy. We're in the New Hope episode.
Yes, we're officially out of the prequel era now.
Good. That's awesome. Yeah, so basically, I don't know, I just feel like I can't pretend to be somebody I'm not. I thought this would be a fun thing to do, that we just get on a podcast should just be like, hey, I'm gonna call it the way I want to call it. I'm a little bit, maybe I've been shooting all week, so you can tell, and plus, when I'm on set and it's that sort of snappy improv and, it's sort of like, there's some types of comedies that are a little demeaning, others are goofy, but I definitely came on here going, oh, Ryan Reynolds, he's known for abs. But, I could sense a little negativity to some of my comments, in terms of what I was saying about people and stuff like that. But that's fine. I'm fine with that. Still believe that. Sorry if I think it is.
And that's the good thing about podcasts, that especially when you do it weekly, things change. No one podcast is the same, because there's always a different set of parameters under which it's usually being done. So it keeps it fresh.
Did you see Rob Zombie's trailer?
I haven't. I heard that they screened 31, which is his new movie, at Sundance.
They did. Midnight. He opened a midnight showing, and now we can talk about that, because that is a bit odd. Sundance changed their programming this year. They basically, it just turned so corporate up there. No one was really excited about going. It turned into Suits, older people. So they wanted to sort of infuse a more younger thing, and they weren't like discovering filmmakers anymore. It was like, hey, Steve Carell's movies got into Sundance, and they weren't discovering, there was nothing coming out of Sundance of discovering a filmmaker anymore. You know what I mean? And so they decided to program horror and have sort of Rob be sort of the ambassador towards this horror thing, although it's not like Rob's getting discovered, but they basically are making, they're going to be they're really going to have a big chunk be young, up-and-coming horror filmmakers for the future Sundances, because they kind of calculated that a lot of big-name directors come from cutting their teeth on their first film being horror. You know what I mean? So they recognizing that fact, and they're going to sort of like, that's where they're going to go to kind of try to find some of these like innovative directors or guys that are cool with camera work and stuff like that, versus, Alexander Payne type of storyteller directors that might just let shots just sit there on tripods. They want to sort of reinvigorate the films that are getting in there, have them be more, camera-oriented, effects-oriented, just people that are developing new ways of storytelling, and that a lot of that happens within the horror genre early on. And the reason why is because horror sells overseas, it can be done cheap, and it sells around the world, and so the investors, it's a safe investment to make their money back, so that's how they can trust. They're more willing to trust a new filmmaker at that level versus a new filmmaker. It's really hard. It would be almost impossible to find some investor that's going to give $500,000 to some first-time filmmaker that really is like, like nobody. I'm talking like not even like, Jason Bateman is a first-time filmmaker at some point, but he's Jason Bateman that did a lot of movies and stuff. Yeah, he wants to do a comedy. Okay, we trust him. But I'm talking like, hey, the 24-year-old kid that wrote a really funny script about, dating his tennis coach or whatever, it's going to be almost impossible for him to find the funding for that. That's why you see a lot of, filmmakers and first-time filmmakers breaking in horror, and that's why you see so many first-time filmmakers making horror, getting funding for horror. Like my friends made that movie Daddy's Home. Are you familiar with that? It's a Will Ferrell, Mark Wahlberg movie.
Yes.
So that movie, I think it might have topped out at like $140 million, maybe $145 here in America. I could be wrong. Maybe it's more. I apologize if it's more. And it's made $50 million around the rest of the world. So around everywhere, Germany, UK, France, China, that Will Ferrell and Mark Wahlberg in a comedy makes $50 million, Now, if you offset that against what was the some sort of, average, decent horror movie that just came out? There was something right around the same time as the Will Ferrell movie.
I know. Well, that came out late December.
Yeah.
I know Krampus came out at some point.
That Krampus that's a comedy car. That's a comedy car by Harmony Korine. That's a comedy horror. No, there was something like one of these paranormal ghost things that came out. I'm talking on my phone, so I can't look it up. I can't remember what it was.
Was it the Ghost Dimension or whatever the quote unquote final Paranormal Activity. Was it that?
No, it was a girl. It was like a picture of a woman with a house or something. Woman's face.
I don't know. I know The Boy just came out this past weekend.
Well, it doesn't matter. I shouldn't talk out of what I don't know. I can't remember the movie, and I like. Sometimes we've done this thing where like I can at least walk over to my laptop and go, hold on, let me check on this, you know. So, but I'm worried about navigating onto my phone and losing you or whatever. But that movie guaranteed probably made, you know, $100 million worldwide, but made $40 million domestically. So now, granted, like that, you do the numbers and you're like, well, the Will Ferrell movie still made $200 and made $50 million more, but the Will Ferrell movie was a $50 million movie to make and to put it out. And advertisements and prints and stuff around the world was probably close to $60 million. So you're looking at $110 million that it cost, you know, Paramount to put the movie out. Now, and when they put a movie out, they got to split the profits with the movie theaters. So if a movie made $200 million, Paramount's getting $90 million. So they've actually taken a $10 million bath on that Will Ferrell movie so far, which still they will make back with their Netflix deals, their DVD sales, pay cable, you know, and then regular TV. The fact that it'll run for a lot of years, you know what I'm saying? So in the end result, they will make money.
Okay, well, and speaking of films coming out, this podcast is airing on Friday.
There you go. It's opening night.
Opening night of 50 Shades of Black. So obviously after they listen to this, or maybe even before that, hopefully they've listened to this, they've already seen the movie. You saw it at the premiere in LA. How was that?
I went to the 50 Shades of Black premiere last night. I have a small scene, and I was pretty pleased with it. I got a couple laughs. It's near the end of the movie. I don't want to give my part away. It's nothing great. I definitely have done funnier stuff for myself. Marlon is awesome in the movie. He goes balls to the wall, and no pun intended. I think you see his balls like probably 5 times in the movie. And penises, lots of penises, and lots of big black penises. Afion Crockett has probably like a 3-foot penis that he's dragging around and getting in, like, you know, gets in the nut bowl and stuff like that, like at the table and shit like that. It's really funny. Great performances by a lot of actors and actresses. Jane Seymour is top-notch. She's hilarious as Marlon's mom. She's got 2 or 3 good scenes. And there's a girl or a lady that plays the Steele. What's the in 50 Shades of Grey? What's the girl's name? Something Steele. Anastasia Steele or Natasha? What is it?
I don't know. Remember, we neither of us have seen this movie.
I just testing you. That was the lane. That was the test, dude. You're good. You got that. I was waiting for you to actually have the name right, and I was like, "What? Thought you said you didn't see the movie or read the book? What's up with that?" I think it's Anastasia. Anastasia, is that right? Yeah, Anastasia Steele. Anyway, she's got a roommate, and I don't know if she has a roommate in 50 Shades of Grey, but the woman that plays her roommate, I think she steals the show. She's hilarious, and I should have wrote down her name. You're in your car too, right?
Yeah.
This is like podcast in the car thing.
Yeah, this is like a whole new ball game, and now we can't check on our phones or on our laptops because we're in the car.
It could be worse. We could be doing the podcast and the guy fight together, so at least it's, you know, cars aren't that bad.
Exactly. I could always do like a little kind of automated announcer type voice and just add in whatever we're talking about when I'm editing the podcast.
Yeah, that'd be good. Yeah, do that. Or yeah. So the woman that plays the roommate is hysterical, and I want to get her on. I'll send her I'll get in touch with her. I definitely want to bring her on and try to chat with her. I want to get Marlon on, but, even at the premiere, he came up to speak at the premiere, and his voice was kind of rough, he was like hoarse, because he's just been out there, man. He's been doing stand-up. He's actually doing stand-up shows while he's, like, flying to go do, like, all the local newses and the, not the local news, but the morning news shows, on NBC, like Today Show or whatever, and he's on all the talk shows, like Jimmy Kimmel and Jimmy Fallon and any other Jimmy out there that might have a microphone in the desk somewhere. So he's really been working it, and he should, because it's his movie. He pretty much is the star. Him and an actress, Callie Hawk, plays the Anastasia Steele character, and she's very good in it as well. And she has some pretty funny stuff. Everyone has something funny, but Marlon, obviously has a lot of set pieces. I wouldn't say it's a one-man show, but in this film, it's gone further and further from sort of like having funny people sort of be an ensemble to being funny people playing cameos, Like, I thought Mike Epps was going to have a bigger role, but he's got just one little tiny scene. He comes in and out, and there's a lot of actors like that. Especially if you're into comedians, you'll recognize faces that come in and just have one little moment, and that's like me. So I don't feel so shortchanged, because when I got this role and it was just like, we got a bit for you, and this was all it was. I felt like, oh man, I'm not doing much in this at all. But after seeing it, it's kind of a series of that. Like Fred Willard plays his dad. Are you familiar with Fred Willard?
Yes.
I think Fred Willard's one of the funniest guys on the planet. Hilarious in what he does. He's got his shtick. But I did a movie called Dealing with Idiots with him. He's from Second City background. It was an all-improvised movie with Jeff Garlin, and Fred was just on fire, and the shit that he was saying on set, like, in front of the camera, giving us gold. It was just great. And in this movie, he really was just sedated and, only had a couple lines. And it's like, you don't bring Fred Willard in and don't have Fred Willard do his thing, you know what I mean? So I think he was underutilized in this movie. Jane Seymour's fabulous. Like, she's got some great lines. I was told she's English and she's older, and it's real, like, urban inside comedy stuff and American slang stuff, and she basically said that she had no idea what she was saying, but she's such a good actress. She delivered the lines awesome, but it was kind of funny now in hindsight after the movie. I was told she basically was like, I had no idea what I said in that scene, but it's like she still was so good. So I would give it, I didn't know, we never really did reviews before, so I don't know how to, I'm going to give it 2 Creeches out of 5, but I'm giving it 4 Daves out of 6. That might be hard for people to decipher. If there could be 2 Daves and 1 Creech out of 14, then I would give it a 74.3 divided by 6 Creeches. I don't like rating movies. You should go see it. The only thing I would say is it's definitely not a movie that you need to see 50 Shades of Grey, because I know most of the audience hasn't seen it. But if you have seen it, it probably is way more enjoyable, because the actual scenes themselves are embodiment, sort of shot for shot, in the movement of that movie. So you might get more of a kick out of some of the things that I might not have found that funny. But it doesn't really matter when there's a 18-inch, penis falling into a bowl of nuts that everyone's eating out of. That it's not like they're spoofing something out of 50 Shades of Grey there. That's just basically an 18-inch penis, and so you're laughing at it. There's a Magic Mike moment in it. Marlon is, for all the women out there that want to see Marlon literally naked, this is the movie. And he puts on about a 5-minute, a pretty good dance number, like a legit Magic Mike dance number, but then with a lot of funny comedy also added into it. And and there's also a Whiplash. Is it Whiplash? What was that J.K. Simmons one, where he's the jazz teacher?
I think it was Whiplash. I know what you're talking about. I've definitely.
Where he's like, he's jazzing it up, and he's teaching the guy how to play drums, and his hands are moving a lot and stuff. So they have a funny scene like that. So there is a sort of tip that had to Whiplash. So it does move around to some other other films, but mostly it stays within the parameters and kind of the scenes in the same order of a 50 Shades of Grey. But there's a really funny scene with Florence Henderson from the Brady Bunch. And you do know the Brady Bunch, right?
I do. I'm very familiar with Florence.
There's a really good scene, so if you're a Florence Henderson fan, or if you thought she was on one of those, we thought she was dead list that we talked about last week. Was that last week we were talking about the whole, I thought they were dead list?
Yes, I believe so.
Do you know, after we said that, and I know I didn't bring up Abe Vigoda, because that's kind of a standard joke for about the last 20 years of Abe Vigoda being dead, you know what I mean? But he actually did die on Wednesday. Can you believe that?
Yeah, he was up there in age. I remember seeing the thing. He was born in 1921.
Yeah, he was definitely born when they had to, when they made paper out of wood, pretty much, right? Lead was lead. Lead was lead, and we liked it. We had pencils that were lead. We had paint that was lead. We wrapped our cereal in lead. That's Abe Vigoda. How could lead be that bad? This guy lived to 110. You know what I mean? So,
yeah.
Go back to lead. This is Dave Sheridan, and I say go back to lead. Lead was in the fuel. Now they got the unleaded fuel. What the hell do I care what I put in the goddamn car, right? So, Abe Vigoda, he was the quintessential guy we were talking about of man, he's the dude you always think is dead. Going, is that guy dead? And so, I guess I shouldn't be. We really got to be careful what we do on these podcasts. You know what I'm saying? I really feel responsible. I feel like we pushed that guy over the edge. He might listen to our podcast, for all we know.
Yeah, maybe he listened to it and he just couldn't take it, and his heart gave out.
He might not have, he might have been deaf at that age, or hearing aids. So I'm not even sure if he would really listen to our podcast. But maybe if he had somebody signing it, he's probably rich enough from Barney Miller. I mean, Barney Miller made people rich. So, where were we? Florence Henderson, whiplash scene, hilarious. It's a great scene. She gave it. I felt that one was a little weird, though. Florence Henderson, that was kind of a stunt casting thing. It's always tough, to go into the Brady Bunch realm. You're never gonna not think of her as Mrs. Brady,
Yeah.
So,
I understand that Marlon's extremely busy right now. So, worst case scenario, we can always just get the fan questions now, and then when he's available in weeks.
He told me at the party, I said, oh, man, why don't you get on my podcast so I can, we'll promote the movie. And he goes, anytime. I was like, but isn't that what you've been saying? That's what you said when I called you. I was like, all right, I should have just said, right now, let's go. But he was busy running around. He was like a bride at a wedding. He was just getting dragged everywhere. But so I know he's tired, and I know he's focused on, obviously there's the major outlets he needs to get on. There's only so much time in a day. If you're out there and you're listening to this on Friday night, send us the questions, and let's get Marlon on the horn Sunday, and we'll find out how the movie did. I would say my only critique of the movie, in a critical way, was it sort of stop and go because they sort of reset each scene with a very serious tone of what that 50 Shades of Grey was, and then it kind of goes off in a comedic level, but then it resets itself again. Do you know what I mean? He's back to Christian Grey or Christian Black, So it's sort of it's kind of this sort of constant start from ground zero of this very serious tone to then getting it funny again. And I just feel like I felt like that was the only thing that was a little disjarring about it.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna, even though once again, I'm not gonna have any of that prior knowledge of the movie it's spoofing. But I'm definitely gonna check it out on Friday as well. See.
Look, I know Marlon must have seen the movie strictly out of research, but I mean, they even poke fun of 50 Shades of Grey in the movie because when they've got her all tied up and he's torturing her, he's making her read 50 Shades of Grey, the book. You know what I mean? It's part of the torture, so it's pretty good. And with that, I think I got to go. I got to get to this meeting. I'm 16 minutes late. I don't like making someone wait 16 minutes. That's terrible.
All right, guys, before we wrap it up, we are going to play my interview with Kyla Kenedy, who played Mika Samuels on Seasons 4 and in the flashback scene of Season 5 of The Walking Dead. Hope you guys enjoy. How are you doing today?
I'm great. How are you?
I am great. How has it been this weekend so far at Walker Stalker Con?
It's been great. It's been really fun meeting all of the fans and getting to see everyone from the show. I love coming to these.
All right, now I noticed this sign up here says this is your last con. Is that true?
Yeah, I'm taking a break to work on other projects, so this is my last con. But I'm definitely gonna, come back later just to visit everyone and see everyone again.
And I know you just mentioned some of those projects. What do you've got that you can talk about right now?
I just did a film called Love Is All You Need that should be coming out soon, and then I also just worked on a Fox pilot.
Oh, wow. Well, congratulations on that.
Thank you.
And going back to The Walking Dead, what was your favorite scenes to film on the show?
Probably the Charred Walker scene, because I got to do a little bit of my own stunt when I tripped over the barbed wire fence, so that was really fun.
And how was it being one of the very few characters to come back as a hallucination in the Tyrese death episode?
That was great because on The Walking Dead, everybody gets split up, so you don't get to work with as many characters as you'd love to. So when I got there, I got to, actually work with Emily Kenny and David Morrissey. I got to work with so many amazing people and Lawrence, so it was just great.
All right, and if they don't already, which they should, definitely, where can they follow you on social media to keep up with you?
Well, for my Instagram, it is it's Kennedy_Kyla, same thing as my Twitter. I used to have an old account, but it got hacked, so my new one's Kennedy_Kyla, same thing as my Twitter.
Okay, and congratulations on the Fox pilot, and good luck. We're going to miss seeing you at these cons, and we'll definitely miss your dance moves as well.
Oh, thank you.
All right, everybody, that is going to wrap it up for this week's episode of the Dave and Creech Show podcast. Next week sees return of our prank phone calls and also, maybe or maybe not, a brand new interview. You will have to tune in to find out. So we are going to let Dave Sheridan close out this podcast for us today, and along with him, I will see all of you guys next week.
Creech, it's been an honor, and I will talk to you again on the next one. But I think we hit some good stuff this time, and I want to thank our fans, our listeners out there for taking time to download us and listening to our chocolatey, smooth voices as we say goodnight on the Dave and Creech Show.
Shut up and sit down.
Thank you for listening to the Dave and Creech Show. The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are solely those of Dave and CJ. These views and opinions do not necessarily represent those of Creech Creative Productions or any of its affiliates.